Hello, my bookish found family. Welcome to my channel. My name is Courtney, and this is Courtney in Books. Welcome, alien lovers, to the strangest series that you will ever love. We all have that author or that book that sort of broke the ice for us, stole our genre virginity, if you will, and mine was Ruby Dixon. The queen of big blue aliens with spurs and tongues that have ridges, cinnamon rolls in space, mates that just want to please their women and whisper sweet nothings in their ears while they make many babies. I'm aware that alien romance has been around for a hot second, but like I said, we all have our first. After binging some Laura Adrian Vampire Spice and a hefty Eternal Mate series by Felicity Heaton, I was on the lookout for more shifters, vampires, werewolves maybe. And somehow, while I was diving toward the giant cave mouth of shifter romance, my dainty size 10 foot caught on a stone and I went careening down the alien romance rabbit hole, which turned out to be a black hole that to this day has not let me go, and in fact keeps feeding me more and more obscure alien romances that I keep gobbling up like a fat kid eats cake. If you don't know who Ruby Dixon is, she is notorious for diverse heroines, big blue aliens with giant hearts, and dirty, dirty smut in space. The first book I ever read of hers was Ice Planet Barbarians, and let me put this into perspective. You're a reader of broody vampire romance with serious tones, dark alleys, and men in leather trench coats with dramatic pasts, and then your curiosity gets the better of you and you open up the book with the cheesiest cover featuring a man with blue skin. When you suddenly find yourself on an alien planet with a big blue alien hunk who's eating you out of unconsciousness. For better or worse, your attention will be grabbed. No matter what, you're kind of hooked. You want to know what happens next, whether it's to laugh or to cry, you cannot stop. I'll be honest, by the end of Ice Planet Barbarians, I was in a world of confusion. This is the first book in the extensive Ice Planet Barbarians series. The first book features Georgie, who is one of many women who were abducted from Earth, but when the alien ship crash lands on a desolate ice planet and the aliens who abducted them bail out and leave them there, Georgie steps up to find help for herself and the many other women with her. This planet is barren and extremely cold, and somehow she manages to cross paths with a man from the Sakui tribe that inhabits this planet. They're very big, horned, blue-skinned, wear fur and loincloths, and have glowing blue eyes, a result of having to host a parasite that has a few perks like regulating body temperature on this very, very cold planet, or finding their most compatible mate. The parasite, called a kui, will resonate or vibrate when a compatible mate is close, basically making the two irresistible to each other because these parasites really want them to bang and make babies. Vectal, our blue hunter, comes across Georgie, clearly recognizes she is not of his species, but also immediately has the hots for her. Georgie, because she's new to this planet, does not have a parasite and therefore can't feel when it resonates, but Vectal is totally head over heels at first, and in fact, when she is knocked unconscious, he decides to wake her up by taking a little taste, if you know what I mean. Yes, Georgie literally wakes up with this man's head between her thighs, and rather than go, "Oh, a giant blue alien is licking my lady parts, this is freaky as hell," she goes, "Well, I'm about halfway to finishing, so please don't stop." And Vectal comes from a dwindling tribe of people with a shortage of females. So it's kind of natural that his kui reacts to Georgie, because since he can't find a mate in his own species, the kui sort of chooses the next best thing, which is a human woman who literally fell from the heavens. He starts to help Georgie survive, fully intending to bring her back to his village, and she continuously tries to direct him back to the ship full of women who are stranded in the middle of nowhere. But the language barrier is not helping at all. Eventually he understands and realizes that he not only got himself a girlfriend, but there is a whole ship full of eligible women for all of his friends. The women, in order to survive this planet, have to get a kui of their own, and this entails the men of the tribe hunting a big animal that is just filled with these things, and then making a small cut somewhere on the chest where the parasite can be rehomed. Naturally, the women are very hesitant, but this place is very inhospitable, so they all eventually concede. And so it begins. The IPB series is born. Every book following is about a different woman from that ship, resonating with a different member of the tribe. A lot of these boys are very horny and desperate for a woman to dote on and to take care of and to make babies with. Even the grumpy ones are complete cinnamon rolls when it really gets down to it. These books, for the most part, can be read as standalones, but obviously characters overlap, so reading the books in order does help in getting to know everybody. All of these books, despite the traumas the characters sometimes go through, are extremely lighthearted and very simple to read. I think that's why people like me enjoy them so much. They require little to no thought, and while that might seem like an insult, it absolutely is not. They're all written in a dual perspective format, so you get the internal thoughts of both sides. Some couples are nuts for each other and others don't want anything to do with each other, and because there are so many books, there's also a large variety of characters. People of different races, sizes, some have disabilities, some have phobias, so like I said, it's a diverse crowd. Sure, the stories all sound the same after a while, but we're not reading these books to be wowed. We are reading to have a good time. So if you want to read the whole series in order, great. I'm sort of a perfectionist in that way, so I actually did start from book 1 and went through the entire series in order before I started picking and choosing which ones I wanted to read from that point on. If you're the kind of reader who picks and chooses from a series like this that are all essentially standalones, here's a quick breakdown of every book in the IPB series. But before we get into that, a word from Bloom Stories. Bloom Stories is a spicy audiobook website with thousands of short stories and full-length books on audio for your listening pleasure. Not only that, but they have ASMR, sleep aids, and even some guided playtime featuring some very talented voice actors as well as sound effects. Use my code SEALY or follow the link in my video description to get up to 66% off your subscription. Not only will you get access to tons of audiobooks, all organized into very specific tropes and genres, but by using my affiliate link, you're helping to support my channel so I can deliver more quality content like this. Like full breakdowns of hunky blue alien smut. Let's get into the series, starting with book 1. Ice Planet Barbarians is book 1 in the IPB series, and it features Georgie, a woman with a get-to-it nature and a protective attitude, and she meets a very straightforward blue alien who desperately wants to make her his. He's pretty naive to the whole concept of consent, but Georgie seems to like it, so both parties seem happy. In my opinion, this was a perfect book to kick off this series because if you can't handle the series at its worst, then you don't deserve it at its best. This is forced proximity meets lust to love.
Just a side note, this series is getting a major update. We no longer have these cheesy Photoshop covers, even though Ruby still does this in a lot of her other series. The IPB series is getting a huge update on cover art and they look fabulous. I've also been told a few times that this mic makes me not sound like myself, and I can confirm after finally hearing what I sound like through this mic that I do not sound like myself. I apologize, it is me. This is just a really weird mic and I'm editing, so it's all I've got.
Liz is an outgoing, sarcastic potty mouth, and she calls her Cooey a cootie, which later gets adopted by most of the girls in the series. Her cootie is like a demanding parent trying to set her up, and it ends up resonating with Rahosh, an alpha male who's grumpy, broody, and fond of tying her down. Liz absolutely doesn't want anything to do with Rahosh, and Rahosh is kind of the kindling that feeds her fire, so if you really like sassy couples, this is for you. Kira is a sort of Debbie Downer. She's quiet and standoffish, but she has reasons for that. The first being that she can't have children, a fact that she thinks will lead to the tribe abandoning her since that's kind of the biggest reason all these boys want the human women in the first place. But also she has a translator in her ear that the bad aliens that abducted all these women can track, and she's torn about leaving to save everyone. But Ehako is the sweet blue alien she needs. He's kind, flirty, and takes a liking to her even before the parasites resonate. It is so weird to say parasites resonating, like these little worms, just like, I don't know, it's freaking weird. When we say barbarian aliens, this is about as barbarian as you get. While Harlow is out collecting supplies in this barren, snowy landscape, she's literally clubbed over the head by Rook, a long-lost brother of the grumpy alien Rahosh. Conveniently, Harlow resonates to him. Rook has some pretty serious abandonment issues due to his messed up past, but Harlow is the level-headed and caring woman that he apparently needs. If I remember correctly, she had some sort of illness before landing on this planet, which her Cooey is working overtime to try and keep at bay, so these two being in isolation for an extended period of time came to really depend on one another. Tiffany, another survivor from this crashed ship, has a secret. She's beautiful and popular and all the alien boys want her, but because the aliens that abducted them forced themselves on her, she's quite reserved and doesn't know how to be in a relationship. Suluk pursues Tiffany for some time, wishing their Cooeys would resonate, but because of its hesitance, these two develop an emotional bond first. The two end up getting stuck in what's called the Elder Cave during a storm, which is basically a giant ship that crash landed some time ago and is filled with tech that these aliens don't really understand. It features past trauma, a friends to lovers relationship, and forced proximity. In this book you have Hayden. Think Mr. Darcy if he was blue and had horns and lived on Hoth. Or as the ladies in this book like to call it, not Hoth. He's pretty grumpy, but he also has tons of baggage since he did resonate prior to our girl Josie showing up on this planet. This previous resonance followed by rejection caused both parties to get sick, and he almost died, and the woman who rejected him did end up dying. Josie also has baggage, seeing as on Earth she was in and out of foster care and then was physically and emotionally and sexually abused both on Earth and by the aliens that kidnapped them. So you could say that these two had a bit of a trauma bonding going on. This one is about Lila, who is deaf and lost her cochlear implant to the aliens that stole them away. She has a big sister who knows sign language and is very protective of her, but otherwise she's kind of screwed. When she's stolen by a blue alien that wants her as his mate, things get worse. But then she's stolen from the alien that stole her by a much nicer alien who doesn't want to force a relationship on her. Rokan instead teaches her how to survive and even learns sign language. Okay, remember how some big brute stole Lila away to try and force a relationship on her and then got rejected? Well, he ended up returning her and then getting exiled from the tribe for doing it in the first place. And now that Lila has found love, her protective sister Maddie is feeling left out, like the girl who never gets picked in soccer. And who can relate more to getting left out than Hassan? These two are all bitter emotions and decide they're going to fool around. No strings, just some good times, but as you may have guessed, this turns into something more. This book is a bit different as it deals with an established couple who at this point already have a child together. Pashov, prior to this book, is wounded in an earthquake, and when he wakes he has lost memory of his mate Stacy and their child. So the book is a bit tragic in that sense that they have to rebuild a relationship. He does his best to be a mate and a father, but obviously this is hard on everyone and there is a good deal of tension. So if you're into that, great. Here we have another couple that is getting a second chance, and we also get our first completely alien couple. Asha and Hamalo are both from the Sakui tribe, and after being mated, they actually had a kid together which tragically died shortly after birth. The grief drove them apart and made Asha into something of a biatch, which drove Hamalo away and gave her major abandonment issues. Claire, a human character, ends up coaxing Asha out of her shell, and eventually she and Hamalo have a second chance at resonance. This is more of an emotional book rather than the straight smut that the other books are. In this book, we were given another alien couple. Farley is a very young Sakui member of the tribe. She's kind of coming into her womanhood, but with a tribe full of men who are finding their mates in humans, she's a little out of place. Until a ship lands on their planet for repairs, and in that ship is a hunky, rugged man of the same species, Marduk. He's an ex-soldier, and unlike Farley, he's seen and done a lot and has the scars to prove it. Farley, being the young, curious woman that she is, finds the ship and resonates with Marduk. He's a bit standoffish at first since he doesn't really care for her planet, but she is kind of adorable and irresistible, and it all works out. This book follows Beck. 8 years have passed since the first ship full of women showed up, and he still has not found a mate. So he ends up getting 5 human women smuggled to his planet, one for himself and the others for his unmated friends. He's kind of naive in this sense and doesn't really realize that in order to get women to his planet, these women are probably slaves. He does end up resonating with one, but naturally she is extremely distant, seeing as she's been considered property for some time now. Beck spends the majority of the book being punished by his tribe for being stupid and also groveling to Ellie, who's traumatized and wants nothing to do with him. This book is about Kate. She's tall and often not seen as feminine and is a bit self-conscious about it, despite the fact that the men on this planet are not by any means smaller than her like many men on Earth were. As a woman who's nearly 6 feet tall, I can relate. I swore never to date a man shorter than me simply because it made me feel unfeminine. Luckily, here I am today dating a short king because I got over that insecurity, but Kate hasn't gotten there yet. Harek is head over heels for her, and when the two get stuck in the wilderness together, they are forced to rely on each other, although Harek has a phobia for blood and often faints at the sight of it. So our big, strong, tall, gorgeous lady is forced to use her size and strength to hoist the man to safety. Cute. After After a crew of slavers lands on this icy planet and captures the tribe, only 2 individuals manage to not get grabbed and must work together to save the others. These 2 are pretty awkward to begin with, so being forced to work together proves to be just as awkward, but also drives them closer together. It's been a while since I've read this one, and I just remember that the girl was Asian and at some point gets her eyebrows singed off. And my first thought was she's Asian and she can't afford to get her eyebrows singed off. Before you get your panties in a twist, I am part Chinese, and I've always joked that the fact I don't have eyebrows is due to me being Asian. I take after my father in that regard. Brooke, formerly a cosmetologist on Earth, is your typical popular girl. She's very flirtatious and she likes to use her charms to get men to do things for her. Tao Shen is not fond of this, but he also is a man desperate to resonate. After the tribe is captured, things lead to Brooke and Tao Shen having a moment, and then they're friend zoned for a good portion of the book until our boy kidnaps his lady in order to force resonance. This is a very reoccurring theme in this series where the boys just think that they can force women to like them by kidnapping them, so keep that in mind. It is called Ice Planet Barbarians, so the warning is literally right there in the title. Ariana is a woman who cries. A lot. In previous books where she was just a side character, this was kind of misunderstood, but now we have a whole book about her and her resonance with Zolaya. Ariana suffers from some very familiar mental illnesses like anxiety and depression, and on this ice planet it's really hard for her to get the help that she needs. Zolaya is an understanding mate who immediately wants to protect her and understand her while most others ostracize her. Here we have Marlene, a confident, sexually certain woman who, unlike most characters, misses her family from Earth immensely. She ends up resonating to the shy, standoffish hunter Zenek. This is a rare book in Ruby's series where the woman is relentlessly pursuing the man rather than it being the other way around. And there you have it, my friends. This is not all the books in the IPB series, but it is as far as I've gotten as a reader. If you're looking to crash land on an alien ice planet full of big blue alien hunks, this should be a good starting point. That is all I have for you guys today. If you would like a part 2, please let me know. This is far from all of the books that she's written, and it isn't even all of the books in the IPB series, like I said. But if you're looking to get started on this wild journey, hopefully this will help you start. I've said it before and I will say it again, Ruby has a way of writing that makes you wonder why you're reading, but also you're just happy. Her books are self-aware and don't pretend to be anything other than what they are. Ridiculous, smutty, sweet stories that you can read and not get depressed about. They're the biggest escape from reality that you can get. This video was really fun to make, and obviously I'm a big Ruby fan. If I didn't read her books, I wouldn't have gotten obsessed with alien romance in the first place, and in turn I wouldn't have written my own alien romance series. That series is the Surge series and can be found on Kindle Unlimited. And each book is a standalone and can be read individually, but the series as a whole fits in the same universe. I always need some shameless self-promotion in my videos because how else is a little indie author like me supposed to eat? Anyways, I hope you're all having a great day. Drop your favorite Ruby books in the comments, and if you've never read her books, drop your favorite alien romances below. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. If you're not subscribed to my channel and you enjoy my videos, please subscribe. I'm trying to get to 4,000 subscribers and I cannot do that without you guys. And as always, I did make this channel to support indie authors, so if you are an indie author or if you know an indie author who writes romance, please drop those suggestions in the comments. Until next time, happy reading. Bye!